It's another lovely Saturday evening, and you're tuned to Invicta 98.9 FM. It's time for the Never Dull Moment program on radio, Ground Zero, the program where we bring up topical issues in the polity, and with guests and analysts in-house, we try to analyze these issues so we get a clearer understanding of them. Today on the program, we shall be looking at the role of the media and civil society organizations and other relevant stakeholders in budget preparation, and we'll be placing more emphasis on the different people that has got the different agencies and organs of government that has to do with budget and the things that you as a citizen need to know and the role that you have to play in all of the budget circle. My name is Ehis Adbon. My guests today on the program are from the Coalition of Association in Leadership, Peace, Empowerment and Development, CAPED. I have with me in the studio Yusuf Goje. Yusuf Goje, you are welcome to Ground Zero.
Good evening, Mr. Hayes. Good evening, our listeners.
I also have with me in the studio Danjuma Abbas Dangwal. Danjuma, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Hayes, for having me, and good evening to the listeners.
All right. And you, the listener, can be a part of the program by going to our various social media platforms, starting from the Facebook, which is Invicta FM 98.9. Invicta FM 98.9 is the Facebook page where you can listen to us and also watch the live video stream. And of course, you can also drop your comments, contributions, and observations in respect of what we are discussing right there. Also, you can go to the Ground Zero Twitter handle and Instagram handle. The Ground Zero Twitter handle is Ground0247, Ground0247, and on Twitter is Ground Zero Radio, Ground Zero Radio. There you can add your voice to the conversation and let's get talking. Of course, you can go to the Invicta FM website at www.invictafmng.com. www.invictafmng.com. Those are all platforms where you can be a part of the program. Okay, without wasting much time, we'll go straight to talking the real talk in respect of what we are discussing today. Most often than not, citizens would always want to complain about what the government is supposed to do and what the government is not doing. Citizens will also shout so much about campaign promises, forgetting that after the campaigns and the elections, it's time for us to go into governance proper. And most often than not, those campaign promises, if the citizens do not translate it to what they desire to have the government do for them, it will just go just like campaign promises. So, a critical aspect in development and growth in any society is the budget. Today, we'll be looking at the role of the media and civil society organization and other critical stakeholders in the budget cycle with the 2022 budget in focus. Okay? Within the week, some media organizations, CSOs, met to look at the 2022 budget, and of course so many things happened in the course of that meeting. And Yusuf Goje, who are from CAPED, happened to be one of the key planners and lead even in the whole process. I'd like you to, in summary, tell us what that meeting was all about, and from there we'll get to look at other aspects of it. Yusuf.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I would like to start by just taking us aback so that we can reflect and connect with the whole conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we have a constitution in this country, and over the years, we've always criticized and condemned the constitution for not being our own constitution. But one fact that we must come to terms with is that as far as that constitution is not totally changed or totally amended, we would have to live with the present one as it is. So I have this strong belief that if only citizens will take time to really read the 1999 Constitution, understand it, and begin to test its efficacies, a lot of the challenges we are facing now would be addressed in terms of good governance, because it already provides a framework where citizens can engage. But the question is, have we engaged to even know whether it is effective or not? We have not. So I would like to reference Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution so that it gives us the background that we want to discuss. One, it talks about the sovereignty, that sovereignty belongs to the people from whom the government derives all its power. That is Section 14(2)(a). Then the B part says the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. Then the third one talks about the participation of the people in their government is guaranteed by the 1999 Constitution. With those three subsections of the 1999 Constitution, it means that the average citizen should be the center of everything that government would do, should be the center of every government plan, every government policy, every government budget, and even how government implements what it says it would implement in the budget should be citizen-centered. Because if we look at that part of the section, 2C, it says that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. So it means that the budget should be solely made of the security and welfare needs of the people.
Yeah.
Because by virtue of 2A of that section, where it says sovereignty belongs to the people, then it means that those in public service are only exercising the power they are exercising based on the mandate given to them by the people. They have no right, they have no legitimacy to be there without the people allowing them to be there.
Yeah.
So if as citizens till now we don't bother how government formulates its policies, formulates its plans, formulates its budget, and carries out its service delivery, then we must share the blame for why Nigeria is not where it is. And these are some of the background thinking that has necessitated the program that we held yesterday, to really say, who is the government? Is it the governor? Is it the president? Is it the commissioner? Is it the minister? Is it the director or the PAMSEC? It is we, the people. They are only acting on our behalf based on the legitimacy that we have given them. So that means at any point in time that government at the federal, at the state, or at the local government is formulating its budget, citizens must be at the center of that process. Citizens must not only participate, must not only be involved, must not only engage, but it must be seen that what is the final document of that budget is informed and influenced by the needs of the citizens. And over the years, we have found it difficult to see that our budget reflects the needs of the people.
Okay.
Rather, it reflects the needs mostly of the elites, which sometimes coincides or look like it is the need of the people, because they will say they will provide health, they will build hospital, they will say they will provide education, and it is health, it is education that we need. So sometimes the budget resembles as if it is citizens driven, while it is not.
Okay.
So it means that for that hospital to be legitimate in the budget, to have the value it should have, and recognition, it should not be that it is the person in government that identified it and said put it there. It is the people that have come together, looking at their needs, knowing where the shoe pinches them, would say this is what we need, this is how we want it. And government is supposed to pick that and put it in the budget, implement it to the satisfaction of the citizens, as long as there's the resources to do that.
Yeah.
So yesterday was a dialogue where government, civil society, media, even the State House of Assembly met to discuss on how we can get citizens' participation in the 2022 budget on the one hand, and secondly, that we see evidence that citizens did not only participate but inform the 2022 budget of Kaduna State. And this thing we are saying is doable. As civil society, we have engaged government at the local government level and on authority, because we are part of the people that analyzed it. We saw that the budget of local government on average 50% is informed by citizens' needs.
Okay.
But it is not an absolute need, capturing of citizens' need, because there is still low awareness and low participation of citizens in that process. But we have seen that the Angwas have been involved. I remember last year, almost all the Miangwas in Kaduna State were mobilized in their local governments to be sensitized on what is called the Community Development Charter, which is the tool that government is presently using to capture the needs of the citizens into the local government budget. So if that can happen in the local government, considering the fact that yes, performance implementation has been very low in terms of implementation of those needs that have been identified by the citizens, but the good part is that at least a first step has been taken. Okay. We are beginning to pick the budget and see that community in social area sat down together, agreed that these were their needs, prioritized these needs, and they signed it and submitted to government, and government has captured it into the budget. What we need is to ensure that we grow that process to be more robust, to have more people participate. Then we begin to focus about implementation. Is there the revenue to even implement these things, which over the years have shown that the local governments don't have the needed revenue to meet all of these needs because of certain reasons based on the laws and structures we have in the state.
Okay.
But what I am saying is that if it can happen at the local government level, then there's nothing that should stop it from happening at the state level. Because both the local government funds and the state funds, if you look at the system critically and analyze it, the state controls it. Directly and indirectly. So it means that a lot of monies are domiciled in the state. So if at any point in time there is a state budget, it means that at that point, that is where almost a majority of citizens should converge and ensure that their needs will be informed. So thankfully, yesterday we had that conversation. The government people told us a lot of things that have been done. And frankly speaking, we have seen progress in a lot of areas in terms of government creating the spaces for citizens to engage, in terms of government putting out information that citizens can use and engage. And that is one of the reasons that the Citizens Accountability Report template that was presented yesterday was put together, because it is the open government partnership component of what is called the State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program for Result, and PEL, that developed that template to support state governments to ensure that all their audited financial statements are made available in a way that citizens can read and understand, so that they can use it to hold government accountable. So all of these things we are saying would not happen by just creating them. Citizens have to now begin to take these opportunities and engage. We don't engage and we criticize government for not doing anything. We're on our own part. We are not asking questions. We are not finding the information to even know and understand what government is doing. So this particular template is to help more citizens to be able to get the right kind of information to engage, because most time when you don't have facts and figures to engage government, you resort to insults and emotional blackmail, because that is, you don't know how to pass your message across in a way that it will reflect that it's evidence based. So you use emotions and what have you. But now, since these informations are becoming more available, it is expected that by virtue of the constitution I quoted, that the participation of the people in their government is guaranteed by the provisions of the Constitution. So it means that we can use that segment to begin to ask the right question, because sovereignty belongs to us. Those in government are only there because we gave them legitimacy to be there, and they should ensure that our security and welfare need is what informs their decisions at the policy level, at the plan level, at the budget level, and even in service delivery.
All right. I would not say that I have been wowed, but I am very, very impressed by all of these explanations, and I'm sure our listeners have understanding the whole process a little bit better. I'll come to Danjuma Abbas Dangwa. In the course of this discussion and all of this, everything to a large extent boils down to the citizen and the development of the CDC. Now, as Carpet, like we know, has done so much in putting together all these community development champions that are responsible for informing many of the things that goes into the community development charter, that eventually informs what goes into the budget from the local government level, upscaling it to the state and all of that. Tell us about this community development charter and what should even be the process and idea behind it before we now come back to further talk about their role even in this budget formation, looking at the desegregation that happened and the fact that we want them to better understand this whole process. The process of putting together the CDC first.
Okay. Well, the community development charter most of the time is best described in process by people at that community level who coordinate these activities. And that let me put it like this. In the community development charter, the priority is inclusion.
Okay.
Inclusion, because it is usually the obvious rather that we exclude some people because of disability or they need special needs, like the people you call deaf, dumb, who will require sign language in communication and all that. We sometimes will forget women. We sometimes could be planning for a community, but we forget the needs of our children. So the community development charter is being developed in such a way that all of this cluster of groups within a community are able to come together, identify what their priority need is, state why that is really indeed their priority, and then identify, is this something that the local government can do for us? Is this something that the state government can do for us? Is this something that the federal government can do for us? Then they choose within there. And then this is also governed by the fact that all of these levels of government also have their own development plans.
Yeah.
So you know what the development plan is saying for your local government area, you know what it is for your state, and you have an idea about what it is for your federal government plan. So you use that fiscal tool to just draw up, okay, we are placing this at local government. We know local government is doing borehole. We know local government is funding basic education. We know local government is contributing to primary health care. So you classify those kind of projects like that and also put those down once you want state government to attend to. Then you give the description of what this project you are requiring is like. You do not just go to say, I need a road. That I need a road without telling how many kilometers that road could be, without giving a description, a hint to what kind of load that road will be bearing in terms of conveyance, vehicles that are moving, what kind of luggage are they carrying, and so that government can also plan effectively to say, okay, this is the kind of road that should suit this need. So that said, is the community development charter template. So in doing all of this, a community comes together, have the women brainstorm around their need, have the young people brainstorm around their need, have the men brainstorm around their needs. If the disability community or persons with special needs exist within that community, they too are encouraged to come together and identify that need. So that by the time all of them come together and say, okay, this is our position, this is our position, this is our position, the community comes to an agreement as to which one of these needs would really make the most difference for us if we can get it to scale in. And so they agree on that. And from there, they move on to meet at the ward level, because there are a lot of Angwa in a ward. So at that ward level, again, the ward comes together and say, yes, perhaps within the ward, a particular community has all the PHC, all the electricity distribution, all the boreholes and what have you. And now we'll be looking at the fact that this end of the ward is actually not having or not being so privileged. And so community agrees at that level and say, yes, this project should be sponsored at this ward, a project like this from this ward, a project like this from this ward. And then that is what they are submitting as a common front to the local government council.
Yeah.
Now they suspected that this needs that are disaggregated in this form will come up through the local government council to the Kaduna State Planning and Budget Commission, who will also be disseminating to the other relevant implementing agencies around with mandates around those areas of service delivery commitments. And then with that, you will have a budget that is influenced by the people should this needs be captured and imputed, like we've seen happen in the local government so far.
All right. You're listening to Ground Zero on Invicta 98.9 FM. Next, we'll be looking at, do the citizen really understand that they have a role to play in this? And based on what they've done in the past in respect of their contributions to the budget, have they been able to identify their input and understand what the impact of their inputs has been, even in the budget that was done in the past? All of this we'll get to talk about when we come back from this commercial timeout. All right, welcome back from that commercial timeout. You're listening to the program Ground Zero on Invicta 98.9 FM. And today we are looking at the role of a cross-section of the society, the media, CSO, government, and the citizen in the budget cycle. And of course, we have looked at some aspect and talked about the community development charter and its development. Before we took that time out, I wanted to find out that in the past, they have contributed roughly about 50% to it from the local government level. And from the desegregation that was done yesterday, an explanation, the part of the intent was to break it down to the level that everybody can see, glance, and understand it. How is the civil society organization and the media going about the purpose of helping the citizens to have access to all these readable format, broken down format, explained format for them to understand? Because it is when they understand that their contributions have been included in the past budget that the zeal to even do more, to contribute more, will be there. Has it been done? How will it be done? And what generally is the process that you suggest? I come to Yusuf Goje now.
All right. As regards how or is it being done, I think that's what we are doing this evening in this studio. Yeah. Because the essence of the Citizens Accountability Report template is to ensure that all the key information of how government is actually spending money, because the budget is just an estimate. So it does not really tell you anything apart from the fact that these are the priorities of government and this is how much they are putting into that. What is more important is actual expenditure that government would spend as a result of what it has budgeted. Has it spent 100% of that amount? Has it spent 50, 60? So it is that kind of data that the Citizens Accountability Report template seeks to bring out for civil society particularly, to be able to get that kind of information, then make it more understandable, simpler, and concise for the average Nigerian that might not have that level of capacity to analyze those kind of information. So in the concept of civil society organization in itself is to ensure that the civil society become the bridge between that connects the government and the people at the grassroots. So the civil society is supposed to be that bridge that connects them. So it means that it is the civil society that is expected to engage government, find out what is happening in government, advocate for government to open more space for people to participate, advocate for government to ensure that all its policies, programs, and budgets are people-centered. And all of those things that our own responsibility that we have bestowed on ourselves to do. So I think it is important that civil society, and when we mean civil society, it means active citizens. So whether you are a faith-based organization, whether you are a community-based group, whether you're a youth club, whether you're women contribution or cooperative group, whatever it is, as long as you have organized yourself to become active citizens, including whether you are an individual, should pick interest in what government is doing, not only pick interest, but try to get informed, equip yourself with the right information, then go down to your community and let people know what is happening. Because two things is, or three things rather, that has kept the citizens a bit docile. One is that we are not conscious of what is happening in government. Two is that we are ignorant of what is happening in government. Three is that we don't know how to engage and hold the government accountable. So for the few people that have that knowledge by virtue of their own personal development or by virtue of trainings they have attended, should take it upon themselves to ensure that we continue to mobilize, we continue to organize, continue to train community members to begin to demand for accountability from government. If you look at all our statistics around poverty, around hunger, around insecurity, it tells you that the only institution that will save this country now called Nigeria is the institution of the citizen. Because the citizen is not just an individual, he is also an institution by virtue of Section 14.2 that I quoted.
Yeah.
So it means that we have that power to ensure that whoever we elect or whoever is in power carry out the business of government, not based on his interest or that of people around him, but based on the larger interest of the citizens who put him or her there to carry out that responsibility on their behalf, because not everybody can be there. So it is important that with these opportunities, and we cannot but also appreciate very strongly the role that the media has continued to play in setting the agenda, in also amplifying the voices of people around how we can hold the government accountable and raise a lot of issues that affect the ordinary man in the communities that most of the time government hear and act upon, but the media does not get the credit.
Yeah.
You get, so it is important that everybody, our religious leaders, in as much as we are teaching people how to get to heaven, we must teach people how to stay on earth.
Yeah.
And part of teaching people on how to stay on earth is to educate them to engage their civic responsibility. Because without you carrying out your responsibility, you cannot enjoy the rights you claim all everywhere. So one must happen, you can't put the cart before the horse. The first step is do your civic responsibility. The second part is that government must give you your right because you have done it.
Yeah.
You don't have to come and insult them and no. Focus on yourself as a citizen. What are you doing when you see contracts happening in your community and you say, it is not government in That statement alone is a disservice to this country. It is a disservice to that person that would have benefited from that particular contract that is being put in your community. It might be a hospital. So because you showed nonchalant attitude, it means sometime in the future, because of the absence of that hospital, or maybe the poor quality with which the hospital was constructed, or lack of facility or whatever it is, a child might die because of it.
Yeah.
Because you refuse to follow and ask questions and want to know what the details about that particular project is, so that you know that quality will be delivered. Don't forget, the contractor is a businessman.
Yeah.
He will do anything to maximize profit.
Yeah.
So, but when it is public service or project, it is the community that have the responsibility to ensure that quality job is done, not the contractor. So when we allow the contractor alone to develop a project in our community, we have to live with what we get. And it is easier to insult government, but let's not forget that our own government, we have not performed our own responsibility, because we are also government. So it is important, because I don't want to narrow this conversation to civil society.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want us to expand it so that everybody remembers that there is what is called civic responsibility. You must not be paid to ensure that the quality of work being done in your community is sustained. You don't need somebody to pay you to do that. Should be natural. You are interested, because if not your child, if not your neighbor's child, it could even be your relation's child that will benefit from that particular thing. Yeah. But we keep on saying, no, it is them. I about one the government. And it is, sorry for speaking outside though. You understand? So, and all of that popular statement that even if we engage, nothing will come out nothing will happen. So all those kind of statements are the statements that are creating the enabling environment for bad governance to happen.
And of course, when bad governance happens, we, the citizens, are the ones that will suffer.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. There's one other angle to budgeting that, though mentioned, was not very highlighted in the course of the engagement yesterday, was the area of politicization of the budgeting process.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? And maybe we can have a rethink or a change of attitude to what goes into the budget or the process itself, and how politics can politics be divorced from the budget process itself. Let me start with Danjuma on that.
Well, a reform-minded government is trying to strengthen fiscal transparency and participatory budgeting in Kaduna, but most of the time we've had the cause to engage this budget at a town hall level. It is always the SA political that is sending out the invites. And throughout the entire year, when the budget is being discussed from MTEV and whatever, you don't hear about that office, participating in the nitty-gritty and discuss around the budget. However, we are thankful that the commission, the Planning and Budget Commission, is driving that. Can we divorce politics away from this budget? I will say no. No, because the indicators have not shown us that it is divorced of politics. We don't get to know the locations where projects are. You're seeing some cluster of projects without location, without telling you why these things are going where and how. Where if you look at Kaduna today, most of the time we're just seeing projects happening, and there is no such disclosure as to what particular project is this. Go around Kaduna, you don't see the signpost for this project. How many kilometers? What is the standard? What is expected? The level of data availability around that is really low. So yes, government is committed to fiscal transparency, but fiscal transparency, as we are practicing it today, and as it is anywhere, is best measured by how much the citizens are able to leverage on that information and hold government to account. So in the event where these particular details that are very much required and needed are deliberately not being put out, are deliberately not being visible, And when these lump sum projects will continue to reflect in the budget without the disaggregation of making it simpler for the common citizen like myself to just know, it's not difficult. A friend of mine usually says, for a citizen to understand the budget, just tell him that we're building so drainage or so kilometer of road on your street. I mean, it is easier for him. Okay, and this is the amount, this is what it costs. So yes, we are not having it well around that, because I am more concerned about the preparation and the implementation, phase of the budget when we talk about the level of politicization.
Yeah.
So yes, we are having a lot of that around, because yes, government is giving out information daily as it is, but you go in there and you check for the substance of what you really need to hold government accountable, and it's like it.
Okay. But how can we now change, or how do we move away from that overbearing influence of politics in the budgeting process?
Well, that brings us to the issue of accountability. Exercising accountability is basically reminding government again that these commitments, these legislations, these legal codes, still exist. That if you are not doing this, you are doing wrong. If you are not doing this, you are falling short of the law. And if you are not doing this, then you're acting outside your own policy, government's own policy, and then that these particular actions are capable of, putting us in dire consequences. So by the time we continue to raise those red flags as citizens, we are aware of these red flags and we continue to raise them. We are interested in the details, we raise those red flags. We are able to call and draw government's attention to what really is required. And yes, it is a work in progress, because, sometimes you see it happen, and most of the time it takes a little longer, for things to take shape.
All right. And I'll come to Yusuf Goje. In all of this, what role will the OGP play in it, the Open Government Partnership? I'm talking about the overbearing influence of politics in the budgeting process, and of course, like Martin said, the accountability and calling government to account. OGP, tell us about it and just link it up.
Okay, the Open Government Partnership is a reform initiative globally. A lot of countries, I think presently over 100 countries, and the number of states that are signing into that reform initiative is on the increase. It is basically reforms that would ensure that government is more transparent, more accountable, and more responsive to the needs of the citizen. That's what OGP is geared towards achieving. And Kaduna State has signed into it, not just only signed into it, it is the first subnational, which is state, to sign on to the Open Government Partnership, which commits the state government to be transparent, to be accountable, to be responsive to the needs of the residents of Kaduna State. So, linking it up with the role of politics, politicians are citizens too.
Yeah.
Politicians are people too.
Yeah.
So when we talk of the people, we are not excluding even the governor, even the president. He's part of us.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is this: if you want to ensure that the budget is not only dominated by people in politics, then you must ensure that you go and mobilize, organize, educate, and equip the majority of those ones that are not politicians to be able to engage and ensure that they influence the budget to meet the wider needs of the people rather than the narrow needs of the political class.
081 40,989 and 07087 are the numbers to dial to add your voice to our conversation this evening. I have my first caller. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening.
I just have a little hint on this matter.
Okay, I can.
Your guest there has already brought us, at least give us some broad lines concerning this matter. But my own greater concern is that sometimes instead of them as well to stand as an enabling body, some of their, as a person, you know, as a human being, some of them will also go stand as a politician as well. So we don't understand. Let them stand. If you are really, yes, this is what you stand for, you will be there. So that we will not be seeing you anytime you come on board, we will not be like, this is one of them. But the way he had narrated everything, in fact, I was so enlightened, and I'm very, very happy to hear that.
Okay.
But one thing again is this: some of us, we don't really understand how things is going on concerning these people. You know why? Government alone will leave everything, and then they're supposed to be our bodies. If government don't come to us, please just let them separate themselves from the government and come down to us and enlighten us, so that we will also be part of what we are going to, what we are part of the process. So with this, I believe that we will continue to engage ourselves and again stand still with the politicians to enable us to have a good governance in society, so that this insecurity that we are facing today will not be something, will be a thing of the past as well. Thank you very much for having my call. Bye.
All right, before you go, what's your name again? Oh, he's already gone. Let's take this one. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Ground Zero.
Good evening. He's and the guest as a studio.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for getting on this topic that you have just spoken now.
Yeah.
In fact, I learned also from immediately, there's one house program that finished immediately you took over.
Yeah.
There was a question there that the performance of local government, what the answer there was, and I want to ask also is that why is that this local government fund does not come directly to the local government? 2, in the project, for example, hardly you can see anything like in Kaduna here, almost all the markets were pulled down and reduced by the state government. Where would the local government get their revenue? 3, we also asked that they say some local government cannot even generate up to 2 million in a month to make develop their local government. And until if these funds are not coming directly, because immediately the funds come, and that what they even discussed and what I also suspecting is that the local government, the governors will take part of this more and then give the remaining one to the local government. So is there any way that the local government will get their funds directly from the federation account? If yes, how?
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Comrade Gabriel. Let's take this. Hello, good evening.
Sorry, yes, you were asking about my name.
Yes,
my name
please.
is Idris. It's Idris.
Idris, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Kabbalah.
All right, thank you so much, Idris.
Thank you very much. Bye.
You're welcome. Comrade Gabriel raised some very, very critical issues that I'd like us to talk about, but let's take this call first. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Ais.
Good evening, you're welcome to Ground Zero.
I'm Chika from Koningora.
All right, Chika, let's have your take.
Your guests have done so much, in enlightening us. The only thing I want to say or ask, how does the civil society, because if you look at the civil society, like one of your guests have rightly mentioned,
Yeah.
they are in different classes. There are those of them that seems to be more organized and understand the technicalities around this budgeting and implementation.
Okay.
So I'm saying, how can such class of civil society now mentor other, citizens that have some that are not that organized? Because some of the things is that when you don't have those technical, the approach becomes unbearable. You go there and you don't know how to approach and get the information from the government, and even know how to follow up all those things. So the question I'm asking, how can we bridge that gap, so that people can be properly mentored within a given environment to be able to monitor some of these things and see that government does exactly what it's supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chika. Maybe we'll take one more before we respond to. Okay, let's just go straight and rest. Okay, let's take this since it's already blasting. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello. Yeah, evening.
Yes, you're welcome to Ground Zero. Quickly, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, my name is Magaji Pingon, calling all the way from Port Harcourt.
All right, Magaji. Let's have your
I've been following the program online, and I think I'm very impressed. But the first question I'm going to ask is that, what is the government engagement between the poor masses and our representatives? 1. 2, a lot of constructive criticism that are supposed to be taken serious and taken into cognizance, government tends to shy away from them. Then shortly, he spoke about civil society.
Yeah.
A lot of these civil societies, if they don't have connections with any of these representatives, the probability of their suggestion and their input into the budget will not be taken serious. So it is all about connection. It's just like, for example, if you check government house, before you get into, you must have to book an appointment. Booking an appointment, reaching the gate, you have to call, or they will call the security to ensure that such processes. So the whole processes are cumbersome. And when you are not within the confines of the political party of who is representing you, your input is as good as nothing. So the truth be said clearly. Now, if government want to build or rehabilitate a school, how much in the budget are they budgeting for? How much are they going to spend? Because if you look at this budget now, they will tell you 1 trillion, 5 trillion, without any breakdown on how these things are to be spent. Because if you look at it, a lot of things have gone wrong in this country that even people who have the right to speak are scared of. Because if they speak, at times they are arrested, detained, incarcerated, and unjustifiable. Do you understand? So a lot of things is that even the national orientation agencies that are supposed to even orient the people on some of this enlightenment, how far have they gone? And how far is the government of the day? Because if you look at it now, as it stands, people who are even enlightened about budget planning and the rest cannot confront the present administration today. Why? These are the indices. Because everybody is afraid of the unknown. And then the unknown metamorphosed into a system where people now feel discouraged. Because I could remember, sorry to divert, I could remember I wrote a project on causes and effects of ethno-religious conflict in Kaduna State, a case study of Jama local government. In some of these indices, one of the conflict resolution team, I presented some of these data and said, okay, these are some of the areas we need to key in to salvage the security and the ethnic crisis in the state. Now, some of these things were presented. As I speak to you, I was not called upon to come and do presentation on that, on some of these things. So tell me tomorrow now if I have some of the indices that needs to even help the state. How do I come in such situations? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So a lot of masses are living they are being pessimistic. Let me use the word now, because the optimism has been ridiculed down to the zero level. But I pray that Nigerians will understand the system that works better for us, devoid of religion, devoid of political party, because whoever goes bad, it affects the next person, and it is a chain reaction.
All right, Bagaji, thank you so much. I am going to get in touch with you. I already have your details. We have stuff that we will talk together. We have really run out of time, so roll it into your parting statement, Yusuf Koji, some of the reactions from our callers.
Well, there are too many to roll into one, but basically I want to say that you shouldn't sit down and depend on civil society, because number one, civil societies have their limitations in terms of they cannot be everywhere. They don't have the resources to organize training for everybody, and also leaving only the civil society to engage on your behalf without holding the civil society accountable means that they can also be corrupted, because they could go and sit down with the government and monies can be given to them, and not everybody would resist that kind of thing, and they will sell the larger people out. So the basic thing is that whatever me and my colleague have said here, 80% of it is as a result of interest, which has made us go look out for information, educate ourselves, and also to engage government, to test what is on paper. We don't want to use what we see or read on paper and we use it to criticize government. No, we carry it out and test it. So it is in that process of testing it that we are learning to engage better. We are knowing making mistakes and knowing where to pass through to get what we want. But the reality is very simple. The quality of our participation and engagement is what will determine the quality of governance we get.
And needless to say more, there is no such thing as political influence for a civil society that is really out to do the work. I will encourage that people who have these needs around capacity building should please key in. Most of these posts are happening on the social media space about such engagements. Put out your questions there. Infographics around budget are going out and being circulated by the civil society in Kaduna. Put up your issues there. Engage. Ask the questions. We are always available to respond to you accordingly. And please continue to engage Ground Zero, because I'm certain that the governance programs here have been laudable, and from here I'm certain you can get to know a lot
They can
and build
always
that
reach out to
capacity.
him if they also want to
Yes, also reach
participate.
out to him to get that participation and training that you are looking for. And that said, I want to assure Nigerians that it cannot be bad until we refuse to actually keep watch and do our own part. The responsibility that my friend Goje has been harping on is the most essential part to ensuring that we get the right services we want to have as citizens. I thank you very much.
All right, we have some comments on our social media page. Magaji, I'm sure you are the one who spoke with just now. Tingonga, you have quite explained yourself there. We also have Alip Karaski also commenting and contributing to the program, saying you are doing a good work, keep it up. I would have read that of Magaji. Since you already called in and we have it, thank you so much. I want to appreciate you all for having time to be on Ground Zero this
I want
evening.
to appeal to you that we should find time and answer the questions from Gabriel. They were very
Yes.
And I think that is actually a broad-based question that we should look forward to answering subsequently.
No problem. We are going to work on that. We need to give you a feedback on all that you asked us. Danjuma Abbas Dangwa and Yusuf Goje are from the association. From the Coalition of Association in Leadership, Peace, Empowerment and Development. Thank you so much for having time to be on Ground Zero.
Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.
Yes, I am Ehis Admo. On Tuesday from 5 to 6, let's take another time out and see how we can help in adding our value to governance and the quality of governance that we get. It's Invicta 90.9 FM and the program is Ground Zero. Plant a tree today, water it and watch it grow. May the good mighty Lord bless and keep us all.